Roll call.
All right. Franklin,
Yep.
Castigar, Gilbert, here. King,
Present.
Powell,
Here.
okay. Art.
Yeah. What is a little,
Good to go.
what?
Three items on each, I want to ask for a motion.
Item D, approval of agenda, additions or deletions for tonight's agenda. Anyone have anything?
Get a first and a second? Second.
Item C, approval of minutes from.
Oh, we have to.
Oh, sorry.
You just have to say, all in favor, say aye.
All approved, say aye.
Aye.
Item C, approval of minutes from April 4th, 2023. Take a minute to go over it. Take a motion to approve.
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Item D, public.
Aye.
Oh, I'm sorry. All the motions say aye, I'm sorry.
Aye.
Okay. Item D, public participation. You want to try to keep it limited to 3 minutes? Sir?
Yeah, my name is Derek Van Buren. I hope that the commission takes the housing concern seriously. A delay of 3 months and an inaction of the city council to discuss is concerning. The online rent of an alderman, Scott McAdams, is troubling too. You should also take an examination of the distribution of who is up in front of the administration hearings. About 8 years ago, when my mom got bit by a dog and I attended the municipal court hearing, I saw very few white people.
Can you speak up a little bit? You can't hear.
I saw very few white people. It was mostly non-whites that were up for charges that you would tend to think that a typical college student would also be up. It doesn't matter if they're based on race. A lot of it was on drugs related and alcohol infractions. So, I mean, either you're targeting certain races or you are selecting certain locations to yield a lot of citations, which is disproportionate to the population makeup of the city, which is wrong. Here's the mayor sitting in the audience. Again, he has yet to say anything about anything of worthwhile at city council. I mean, 3 months. I mean, when I saw the online posting of the video from 3 months ago, the hearing, it was very troubling.
I'm not clear what we're talking about.
Item E, old business, number 1. I don't know Professor Williams, but I do know Mark Cordes because he was one of my law professors. He's highly respected. He's top-notch research in constitutional law. And it was very troubling that both of them were here talking about discrimination in the housing market in the city of Detroit. And yet again, 3 months, there hasn't been any discussion anywhere that I can see by any commission or in the city of Detroit. Thank you.
Art?
It's actually been 4 months since the last meeting, so a significant long period of time. First thing I want to discuss is the fact that transparency on this commission used to be great. Now, the public does not even have access to the meeting minutes that you guys just approved, that the city council actually posts the draft version. I noticed that we no longer do that here, so the public cannot review what you just voted on. So I would like an answer as to why we no longer publish the meeting minutes, the draft version that you previously had. You published before meetings before, so another step downward in transparency. I suspect it's probably because of some elected officials have changed the guidance for this commission. So I'd like to see that come back in the spirit of transparency, which is kind of going by the wayside here. The city council recently dealt with issues regarding fines for parents. And there's been a lot of discussion regarding the fine issue and how certain segments of our population are targeted for that. This particular issue would have been perfect for discussion by this commission. And I noticed that it was pushed through quickly by our elected officials, so this commission didn't even have a chance to review this. When something goes before the planning commission, someone wants to change zoning, the commission looks at it, makes a recommendation to the city council. This commission is perfectly suited and should have been consulted to provide guidance on that issue. And the fact that this particular commission is basically being neutered, as far as I'm concerned, by our mayor and city council is extremely problematic. The fact that you guys haven't met in 4 months, and the issue of Ms. Williams was brought up by Mr. Van Buren earlier, is very concerning. Some members didn't even bother to attend her particular testimony, which I felt very compelling and hasn't been discussed. Ms. Williams' concerns should have been brought up at the next meeting. In fact, even a special meeting was discussed, the possibility of having a special meeting to, yes.
Well, Mark, I don't want to cut you off. I spoke to her numerous times. She's gone to Las Vegas. She's been gone the whole time. And she's coming back at the end of this month. But I spoke to her to bring her back previously, but she's been gone all this time. She still's not back.
But her concerns
She
do
was still
represent.
here at the beginning of May.
But she's probably a segment of the population. She probably represents a segment. There's probably others in her same situation. So there are probably others dealing with that same issue. So it's a concern that I'm glad you guys are going to, I hope you guys have a worthy discussion of this on the next item. And the fact that the city council, the mayor and city council have been silent on this speaks volumes about discrimination in our community. So I hope you guys have a nice, full discussion of that particular issue. And that's all I have. Thanks, Andre.
No problem. Anybody else? No? All right. Old business. The redevelopment, the progress report on the redevelopment of.
Oh, I need to look at your minutes. It's gonna be-
Oh, shoot. The housing concerns of Miss Sylvia Williams. You want to address it, maybe?
Yeah, can I?
Yeah, you've been updated on
Yeah.
everything.
I mean, my understanding from state's attorney's office, from the city's attorney's office, if there's discriminatory practices brought against an individual in the city of DeKalb, it's a legal matter. And I think we've provided recommendations to the person that brought these accusations forward, that that's the path to be able to choose. I have personally, I work with landlords all the time, and listening to them talk, I've been through, I can't even tell you how many of our properties that we've had have seen the diversity. We all know the makeup and the diversity of the city of DeKalb. We are an incredibly diverse community. If we had systemic issues when it came to discrimination, I think we would see some of that more than what we do right now, because again, the makeup of our community is insanely diverse, which is awesome. I've talked with Dara, I've talked with various landlords. Overwhelming majority of all the reasons why they just deny someone the ability to rent from them is an economic one. It simply comes down to their credit check doesn't pass muster, their employment history doesn't pass muster, and that's where it stands. So the reason I'm here is this accusation that came forward, that individual really needs to go through the court system to have it addressed. I mean, this is, if what she is accusing the landlord of is true, that is an illegal practice, and she's got every available avenue for her in our court systems to be able to go after discriminatory practices of landlords. So what I'm here for is, what do we want to do? I mean, we are not judge, jury, executioners here at the commission. We have we have 8 elected officials that are representative of our community that are, and one thing I'll give credit to our council, are very engaged city council. There is many of them that every event I go to, every meeting I'm a part of, any interested party that wants to know more about what's going on, our city council leans in pretty darn hard. So I'm not sure ultimately what we're trying to accomplish here. If we want to have something where on our website we provide a description of what discriminatory rental practices are like, and what course of action people have available to them to be able to pursue, totally on board for that. If we want to educate on what that looks like and how people can pursue, if they felt like they were discriminated against, 100% behind. I would love the commission's input on that. But outside of that, I'm not sure what we're trying to accomplish here.
Well,
Yeah,
it's time for me to speak up.
sure.
I am glad that you're here. I think it's been a while since we met to discuss this. I realize that we can't offer her a remedy on this council.
Right.
Right, none of us can do that, but I do think, having been addressed by you and by the city manager, Bill Nessus, he's the city manager,
Bill Nichols?
Yeah.
Yes, he's the same.
okay, hearing that was kind of surprising and shocking to me.
Hearing what?
Hearing her concerns,
Oh,
disability
yeah,
concerns.
okay.
And even when you say, our city is diverse, and I don't know if you said it's incredible or whatever, I wouldn't, I'm from Chicago.
I know, you told
And
me.
so, well, I'm gonna keep saying it because it always, it's my best reference. And for me, successful diversity looks like Hyde Park in Chicago. It looks like Evanston. It looks like a variety of communities that are integrated
Mhm.
and not necessarily segregated, and certainly not by cost. So there is some variance on our city with regard to diversity and the access that people in our city have access to when it comes to, I live in DeKalb, I can do this, I live in DeKalb, I can do that. I live in Chicago, right, I can go to the Shedd Aquarium, and if I don't have any money, I can get a scholarship, or I can go on a free day. And so DeKalb is not a Chicago, nor do I think it should be. I just want to be clear about what my reference point is as we talk about diversity and how wonderful, and I don't know your reference point, and maybe it is DeKalb, and this is,
It is, I didn't grow up in
Like,
Chicago,
phenomenal.
I've lived in Chicago, I've just lived here essentially.
oh, okay. Well,
Went to
it's certainly
school
more
here.
diverse than it used to be, so maybe, we've come a long way, maybe.
Oh, it's definitely more diverse than it was when I was growing up, but it was diverse then as well. It just continues to expand, which is great.
Yeah, well, not important. I've heard some stories about DeKalb, but that's neither here nor there. What I think is that, while I don't think we were able to provide remedy for her, I do think that it's an issue and a topic that we could have addressed and we could have talked about, because it's certainly not the impression that we want to have for residents or potential residents, nor citizens that live here. And I do think that there are other people in this community that have experienced her same situation. And so maybe that is a conversation, maybe that is a conversation that the Human Relations Commission could have. And Darma, maybe Darma should have. I don't know, I just think for us to not address it for 4 months, to me is a long time. And I see Joe is not here, so things have happened. That's just my.
And I'm actually not familiar, I assume she's pursued it with the state's attorney, she's pursued these allegations from a legal perspective. I assume.
I don't know, I don't know.
I don't know that she did. What concerns me, you're right, you can go to various agencies to complain about discrimination, and it's a cumbersome process, but she's a lawyer, she could have done that. But in this case, she was alleging she was turned away by 36 landlords. That tells me there's a systemic problem, and her coming to us makes sense because we should be advising the city on how to address a systemic issue of discrimination.
Well, one person claiming they were denied by 36 landlords, I don't think is an accusation or justification for saying we have a systemic problem. When I tour, and I've toured countless properties in our city, from higher-end ones that are being built now to apartment complexes and our low-income families. I continue to see diversity throughout each one of them. So one person saying they're denied by 36 landlords, that a person, I'm assuming she's African American, I haven't met her. If that was the case, then that means if you're African American, you can't get an apartment in the city of DeKalb. What I have seen throughout all the apartment complexes that I've toured, and I don't know how many you all have toured, but I see diversity in each and every one of them, which again is reflected in the demographic makeup of the city of DeKalb. So and that's where, if this is really happening, I mean, 36 cases, this is a Illinois Supreme Court case. I mean, if these allegations are completely accurate, then I would encourage her incredibly to go after it. I'm not seeing it firsthand going through our properties. Talking with the landlords.
Well, you're not going to see it.
What's that?
You're not.
I do recognize that. I'm not going to see that. But what I'm saying is when I go through the properties, the people I see are diverse. I'm not going to experience what happened here, and I would never in a million years presume that I would understand that particular situation. I'm just saying properties throughout the city of DeKalb, across a multitude of landlords, when I go through them, I see diversity. And this is such an egregious situation, I could do nothing but encourage her to pursue legal matters that we need to have a higher investigation. But I can't, as the mayor of the city of DeKalb, say we're going to champion some large investigation based off of an accusation. When she has legal recourse, she can pursue. And I would love to, I would be an active participant, interested in the outcome on that, but this is really something she needs to pursue on her own. We are not here to be, again, judge, jury, and executioner as a commissioner on landlords. And because what do? We ask, all right, so she needs to name landlords. We need to what? Call them forward and have them produce and explain and justify their denial. That's not what we do as a commission.
That's what we used to do. But you're right. That's been changed.
But this is a legal matter, man. I don't know what's been changed. Calling people forward to possibly, because one person made an accusation, we're supposed to bring landlords before the commission and potentially jeopardize their name, their reputation, their business when they've done nothing wrong.
Well, we don't know.
This is what the courts, but this is what the courts is doing.
We don't know that they've done nothing wrong,
Agreed.
in all honesty.
Yes,
If we want to be
100%.
honest. And it's sort of like the firefly, which I refer to as the lightning bug.
Yes,
Right?
same here.
When one lights up, then another one lights up, then another one lights up.
Yep.
And before you know it, when you look at the field or wherever they are, there are a lot of lightning bugs lightning up.
Sure.
So one of the benefits that I see for the HRC is that the average Joe or Jane can come here and say, hey, this was my situation. And like I said, I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're here, hopefully listening and not really saying, hey, there's nothing we can do. And to be maybe a facilitator of maybe some things that perhaps we can do, because certainly she's an attorney and the person that brought her is an attorney. And I think she mentioned that she was doing some research in this area, which to me, if nothing else, is just a good kind of a PR situation to say, hey, well, let's talk a little bit about what happened. I can't change it. I can't line up on either side.
Yeah.
I can say as the mayor though, this is certainly not the kind of image or experience that I want anyone to have.
Correct.
And I think that's possible, and I think the not meeting for months, I just don't think that's a good look. I don't know what the answers are either. What I know is that if I were her and I came to what I thought was the ear of the city, right? Because she wouldn't go to the Economic Planning Commission. She wouldn't go to some of the other commissions to talk about this. I just would hope that she would feel heard and that others will feel heard about the kind of work that we can do and that we do.
Well,
I think that's fair.
in part, that's why I'm here. I mean, her accusation, which it's an accusation, and I think we would all understand that we can't. One person brings one thing forward, That's one person bringing one thing forward. You could have, I field a lot of phone calls and a lot of complaints for residents and a lot of accusations, but it's not going to cause a full investigation based off of one person's complaint. Her complaint and the fact that you guys talked about it, and I talked with Chairman Powell about it multiple times, caused me to start talking with some landlords and be like, hey, describe to me what your actual process is. Obviously, she never pointed to a particular landlord, but I interviewed more of the higher end ones because I was figuring out a law professor probably applied at nicer apartments, maybe not in University Village, maybe that's my own short-sightedness on that. The application process many of these have, especially in today's society, try and remove as many barriers as possible that could shed them in a light of being discriminatory practices. Many times, there's no pictures, there's no face-to-face. There's some of them don't even have names that come before. What it ultimately comes down to, for many of them, is the credit check. The credit check is everything. If you can't have a credit score that is of X standard for a landlord, they're not going to rent to you. That's it. Some of these landlords, and many of them, it's all an online application process. This is all done electronically, back and forth, denial. Listening to them talk, I don't see a systemic issue because many of these landlords, they want tenants. They want tenants that can pay. Many of them don't care, color, race, anything. All they want to know is if I want to rent to you, that you're going to be able to make that monthly payment and you're going to be able to live in a safe, friendly environment and you're going to pay. That's the experience that I had. So, Lisa, when you talk about heard, I've had multiple conversations. And that's why I'm here tonight, finding out, okay, this has triggered some activity on my end, just to say, how does this process even work, landlord X? But what I want to know from you all is, I mean, what are we going to do? Because we will not, and maybe we did it where we were judge, jury, and executioner, and we brought people forward, and we grilled them, and we put their name in the public light because one person accused them of something. I'm not on board for that at all, because that can cause a lot of damage and harm because we don't know the credibility of the accuser, right? And that is not our role, especially in this case when it's actually a violation of the law. There are multiple pursuits that an accuser can take to have that addressed and pursue that accordingly, which she obviously knows about. So for me, it's like, okay, the HRC, we had someone come and present a complaint. Ultimately, I see us as, we hear those things, let's figure out what is the next course of action, and to me, a lot of it is education. So, one, we can educate on a complainant, what avenues are available to them in the legal realm of things that they can pursue. And if we want to have it, or we want to talk to DARA, or DARA, by the way, is the DeKalb Area Renters Association. That's not every landlord. It's a group of landlords that have come together just to have an organization to talk about best practices on things like that. Happy to always go and present to them on, I don't know what to present to
I
them.
mean, they should be pretty knowledgeable on discrimination already.
That's a great point, because realize, since this is a legal matter, if a landlord does discriminatory practices, today's society, it can be some substantial, can be a substantial issue for them. Legally, fines, and reputation. So you're right, I bet most of them are absolutely aware of what the discriminatory practices are, which leads me back to when I talk to them, the way they actually go through the application process. Many of our landlords, especially when we're talking, and I don't know those.
I'm sorry to cut you off,
Real quick.
what's the city of DeKalb standard for landlords in their process?
What do you mean?
Is there a standard that the city of DeKalb follows?
So we have the crime-free housing ordinance that's forward that we encourage landlords to try and do X, Y, or Z, but in many ways, it's America. Someone owns their property. They can choose how they want to go about renting that property, maintaining that property. We have code guidelines for how if the doors broke or a window's broke, they need to mow their lawn. We have guidelines like that in place. The state and federal government have guidelines as far as discriminatory practices. But there isn't, we can't control them necessarily.
No,
to
I
tell
don't,
them
I
exactly
don't,
how
I
you're supposed to
don't,
behave.
I don't think that, and let me just,
Yeah.
I guess, you know, for the sake of transparency, I think some of this, to some degree, we all kind of understand. And as an African American in this world, I'm skeptic, and I think that people can still go around the policies and go around the
Sure.
practice, and I think because we
Yep.
heard one person, doesn't mean that she's the only person. And I'm not
Okay.
taking her side, so I'm not going to say,
Yep.
she's one person, and what does that mean?
Right.
What I think is that she offers us an opportunity to say that this is who we are as a city. And it's unfortunate that this was your encounter, and there are some things that you can do to further pursue that.
Yep.
But we want to assure you that as a city, these are our values, this is what we stand on, and you mentioned education and put some stuff on the website. I think that's great. I think that is more transparent.
Yep.
And I think, you know, I guess some of the people are in Dharma, some of the people are not in Dharma. I don't know what that means about the new property, and the new properties may or may not be, but I think there are things and ways that the city can say, here's what we value and here's what we expect. And we certainly don't expect anybody to come forward.
You know-
And let me just add
Yep.
that I shared this concern with another person, another African-American woman who lives in Sycamore, and she said, that's my same experience, is why I don't live in DeKalb.
Hmm. You know, and I've had African American told me they left DeKalb because of the problem in the school district. They went to Sycamore. They know they're going to experience more racism there, but it's a safer environment for their child. I've heard a variety of things from people of color on this exact topic, but let's go back a minute. The HRC wanting us to put something on the website to education, I think that's a great one next step. I'm happy too, like, if we need to make a public statement about what it means our values are, and the city manager and I have been part of, there's a group together called the Belonging Council in the city of DeKalb, and I use a big part of it, and we're founding members, and we really talk about, look, we need to make sure that the city of DeKalb is a community that everyone feels like they belong. There's behaviors that don't, right? But this is a community that everyone needs to feel like they belong. I'm happy with the recommendation of the HRC. Like, I need to make some sort of public statement about what it means to be in the city of DeKalb, what it looks like, and what we don't tolerate. In this case, it could be when it comes to housing. I'm happy to make a statement like that at council. Absolutely. I'm just saying, that's why I was looking for what in the purview of what we're doing here, education is a big part of it. Taking a public stance, like you're saying, on this is what we believe. I'm totally on board.
If I could,
Oh, I'm sorry.
well, let me just say, no, if I may. And I apologize, I'm late because of my own stupidity.
Hey, life, we understand that.
But as part of this education piece, the one thing that I'd like to see on that website, but one of the things that concerned me about the testimony we heard back in April was this person telling us, and I don't know how to verify this or not, saying, well, I was denied, I was denied, and each time I was told, well, it's something, but I don't know what it is, it's just, without an explanation. And what I would, and I don't know whether that's true or not, but one thing I would like a statement about, or on the website, or whoever it's done, is that if you were denied, if you're not going to be rented to, that you ought to have something in writing perhaps, or some kind of response that says, this is why. Because apart from the issue of race, and I think that's an obviously major one here, we've all known people that have gotten false credit reports. We all know people that, and if you don't know, and I'm not saying, and I don't know whether
I know what
it's
you're
true or
saying.
not, but
What if she got
If-
denied because of a false
if you
credit
got, if you,
report?
and yeah, that, if somebody says to me, well, no, I can't sell you this, or you can't rent here, because, your credit score is this, that tells me that I need to do something, whether I need to call somebody and say, well, wait a minute, I paid my bills, what are we talking about? I can take care of that. But if I don't know what it is, it follows me around, I can't do anything about it. So
Yeah.
if there's a statement or if there's a policy, and this is my ignorance, because maybe you know that there already is such a policy, but at least a statement that says, if you're denied, you will be given a reason.
Two thoughts about the specific case.
Yeah.
One, we had talked about a special meeting, and I wish we had had it because she was still here in May, and I would have liked to have talked to her further, because frankly, this doesn't make sense. And so therefore, I would have liked to follow it up a bit more. But the other thing is, she was looking for a house, and I would guess that most of the landlords you talk about buildings, those aren't houses, those aren't individual people who are renting a house.
Do you think she,
And that may-
clarification, or,
Yeah.
she said she talked to 36 landlords. I mean,
Yeah, but
maybe
if
I'm
you
wrong.
own a house and you're renting it out, you're a landlord.
Oh, I know, I mean,
And I think
maybe
that
we do have that
experience-
many that are renting houses, I don't know.
I don't know, but it just, that would be a different experience than some of the multi-unit
Yeah,
So
places
this
around here.
analogy with fireflies, maybe rather than being like hanging. This is just a proactive side of my life moving forward. To me, when revitalization plays, it brings up a tenants association on both locations.
Mm.
Now, we hear about Dara, which is all the landlords, right? But we don't hear about the tenants association. And so I guess I'm wondering, I know Dara is separate from the city, right? But what could the city do to promote a tenants association? Because obviously there's a power in unity, right? And I feel like that would solve a lot of these issues coming up.
yeah, and so realize I'm 2 years in, so I'm gonna share kind of anecdotal conversations, well, not anecdotal conversations, just what I've heard. Tenant associations, like University Village is a perfect example, because I want to use that, and actually I think Hunter had one at one point too. A tenant association at a large complex has a higher probability of working rather than an 8-unit, let's just say, right? My understanding is when we've tried it with tenant associations in the past, if there's a particular issue, you get people that are interested, they show up to the meetings, they participate. But when issues go away, attendance dwindles, and then there is no more tenant association. You have some issues like University Village is a perfect example that I'll keep using because it's a large complex, right? But 20% of the people rotate out every year. That's what they told us. So you've got a transitory nature to it too. And as we all know, and I think all of us are included in that, the work we've been trying to do in our community, consistent leadership is a problem. Getting people that are going to, one, step up is always a challenge. Two, consistently do so is a second challenge. And then getting enough people to want to participate to affect change is almost like the third challenge. So tenant associations, my understanding, like, I'm happy to promote, like the city can't run a tenant association, right? But there is no obstacle in place for it. My understanding is when, and I think it was, I'm sure someone's going to look in this and correct me on it, but I think when the new property manager took over for University Village, this is one of the mandates that need to happen, and they started, stop, and they just can't get any consistency towards the tenant association. So from a larger City of DeKalb tenant association, someone has to want to be the champion of that. And we all know, because we've all probably been in leadership positions before, it's hard. You got to find that person that's going to be dedicated towards that. And then you have to have people that are interested in it too. So there's nothing in the way of a tenant association being formed. And I think what you're saying, JJ, is not just at a property, but for...
Right, for the city.
Yeah,
Which I
yeah,
know is like probably thousands of people.
yeah.
Well, a few years ago, there was a tenants association that we worked with
Specifically with Hunter Properties.
when there were
Yeah.
complaints by other property, but it's mostly students, and it's hard to keep that going.
Yeah, I know. just like any initiative, we always, whenever we try and move the community forward, sometimes there's that initial yay, but when it actually gets in the minutia of trying to execute on it, it just gets tough.
But one of the problems with that, that's right, is that, you know, we had a very good leader, who was building a pretty good organization, and I think an effective one.
Was it?
I can't remember his name, to tell you the truth. Pardon? Yes, I think so, yes, that's right. And he graduated, and
Yeah.
went on to bigger and better things. And so, you know, when you're gonna start, and I'm not objecting to anything you say, but when you're gonna start an organization like that, you know, one of the questions that people need to ask are you committed to being here next year? Or are you committed to being here for 2 years? You know, so that, you know, people begin to trust that this is an ongoing thing and it's actually gonna happen and it's got some staying power. And that's hard.
So again, no barrier, no opposition to it. I just, from what I heard, they spin up and then they die out as soon as that one issue gets essentially taken care of. So I'm open.
I was thinking more about like the city promotion, like not running it, obviously, I mean, meeting space, stuff like that.
We can talk about promotion. I don't know. I don't know what that means.
Well,
I mean, I can say something. Council. What's it?
Just advertising it.
Yeah.
Putting it out there.
But and you know too, and I've heard it from Ms. King. Communication is always a tough one too. Not everyone's on Facebook. They like Twitter. Well, they like Twitter. They don't like Facebook. You know what? I don't do social media. I do email. You know what? I completely checked out. I need direct mail. Man, I would love, because JJ, this isn't the only issue, that we would love to get promotion and encourage the public to be a part of. God, I'd love to figure out that secret sauce, man, on communication. Yeah.
Well, for people that live in an apartment, they have somebody that is responsible. Like where I live, we have email, and we have snail mail, and we have kind of a board by the mailboxes, because everybody gets mail. We have signs that they put on the door as you open the door that you can't ignore it. I mean, you can ignore it, but it's
They ignore
there.
it. Yeah.
We also have pieces of paper like this, rolled up by our doorknob. So, you know, I think, and I don't know what the answer is, I think there's a way to communicate with people. People power is important, as you mentioned. Somebody that's committed to doing it
Yeah.
and making it happen. And I live in a place where it's pretty great. And I'm sure other people live in a place that's pretty great too. And some of that is about the people that are committed. And we know that students come and go. I think part of what I hear JJ saying is when the city has an investment in this occurring, it makes a difference. So if you said, I want all the people from all the different properties to come, I don't know, Friday at 3:30 if you can. We're gonna have pizza, or we're gonna have salad too. And we're gonna talk about
Sure.
what's going on and what we can do better. How can we support you? And what is it that we need to know?
Yeah.
Because when you don't know and you don't open the doorway, you never find out.
Yeah.
And those little pieces of paper can show up on our door and say, hey, tell me something that you'd like me to share with the city.
Can I want to do a quick exercise, and this is not, I'm not trying to be, I'm not calling anyone out on this. I want to do a quick exercise. Who is your older person?
I don't know.
Who's your older person? I'll just stop. All right. So our older people.
Because they probably know.
These are, well, no.
You start on
No,
that
no, no,
thing.
I'll go all the way around then. You know your older person, yes. Older person.
McAllen's.
Scott, I don't.
Okay,
I
so
do.
here's my example.
You know yours.
Yeah, Barb Larson. I'm in the second ward. Yeah, 100%. I know. So here's my example. You all are committed members of our community. You probably go above and beyond an overwhelming majority of our community, right? Our older people, almost every one of them, and I'm gonna get corrected on this too, I know, but almost every one of them have board meetings. And they do them once a year, twice a year, where people can come out from their board and talk about issues and have those discussions. You know how many people go to a board meeting from that board? 2, 3, maybe 4. You could get an anomaly. I saw Tracy Smith had one at the fire station once. I think it was because of the fire station, because fire stations are cool.
Did I get an invite? Was there something on my door? Was there an email that told me about it?
Well, there's not something at your door, because how can an older person go to?
I agree.
But Barb, I mean, and then again, who pays for that, the board meeting? And then every communication we're supposed to have, are we supposed to hand feed everyone in the community on exactly what it is by Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, email, direct mail, and we might as well just say face-to-face. We should be going knocking on every door and trying to corner them and communicate to them, right? Here's my point. You all are an active group in our community. You are on a commission in the city of DeKalb. Who here has been on this commission more than 2 years? Right. So half, less than half, but a chunk don't even know who their alder person is. Probably aren't reaching out to their alder person. I don't know if you all subscribe to the city of DeKalb's newsletter, but it's a newsletter that goes out. It's actually phenomenal. Scott Zapp. No, actually, if you haven't seen it, you need to subscribe to our newsletter. If you want to find out a lot of what's going on, he does a great job communicating. But here's my point. There are so many things we need to communicate, and we're going to do our best job possible. You have 8 elected officials, I'm one of them, that you all need to know who they are. You all need to know you can reach out to them. You all need to know. But here we have active members of the community that aren't even knowledgeable about who their alder person is. And I'm not being negative on that.
I'm okay with it.
If I needed one, I know how to work it
Correct.
out. I'm not an
But
idiot.
oh yeah, I know, you'd be able to Google it. But my point is, the majority of people in the community are going about their lives, doing their thing, they don't know. To be able to forcibly communicate, because that's what you're saying. We have to do all those things, and we have to knock on their door. We have to talk to them face to face if they haven't checked out all this other stuff. Here's my point, I'm exaggerating a little bit, I know it. It is an impossibility to communicate everything you need to everyone. And that's where, as members of society, we have a civic responsibility that we need to be engaged. We need to know who these people are. We need to actively be on email distribution lists. We need to read city council meeting minutes. We need to do these things. We have a responsibility as individuals in our community to be informed as well.
Well, we also have a responsibility to pay attention to people that come and see us.
Yeah.
Which is why we're having this conversation.
Which is why we continue to have it.
And we also trust the people that are our representatives because we vote.
Yep.
And so
I
when
hope
it
so.
came time to vote.
I'm not asking that either.
I'm sure I voted for.
I hope you did. Yeah.
Well, I'm certain I did.
Good.
I'm certain I did.
Good.
And my point is, there are always going to be people that are knowledgeable and active, and there are things that I don't know. Right? There are always going to be things,
For sure.
and I know a lot. And I've been alive for a long time, so I know a lot just by living.
Sure.
However, it doesn't remove the representative's responsibility to better manage, help organize, and come up with creative solutions because you're not just connected to my person, right? You're connected to all of the mayors, I would imagine, in the state of Illinois. So I guess you're involved with the mayors.
The Northern Illinois Mayor's Association.
All right, that's
sure,
all
yes.
I'm saying.
The
I'm
entire
not
state,
there, I don't
there's
know.
1,195.
Well, I'm not going to call, my point is this, so
Yeah.
you probably have access to a lot of options and a lot of ideas that aren't my primary focus.
Correct, yep.
Because my primary focus is other things.
Yep.
This is in addition to my primary focus.
Right.
And I don't raise it to be nasty. I don't raise the concerns that I do to poke the bear. I raise the concerns that I do because when somebody comes to me with a concern and they think that perhaps I have access to somebody that can help them
Yep.
or that I can help them, that's when I kick in the high gear
Which-
and do what I can
Yep.
to try to get some aid and assistance. It's like if
Which
a person came to me bleeding,
Yep.
I'm not a doctor, I'm not an EMT,
Yep.
But if I got a car or a phone, I'm gonna do the best that I can to get them some assistance.
Lisa,
And that's my point. That's my
I know.
point.
I think you
And
guys crushed it though.
I think when you made your commentary, I sense that you missed the point. And that it sounded defensive, right? Like you trying to have me do all of this stuff and you volunteered to be the mayor,
Yeah,
right? You volunteered to get all of these people together.
I don't remember being defensive, but maybe.
Well, that's what I
Okay,
heard.
yeah.
That's what I heard, because what I didn't hear was you saying, how can we come together to make this better? And I heard the
Can I
few things
respond?
that you said, you can't, just give me a second, but you gotta listen.
I am, I've been
You gotta
listening. I've been listening.
So when you say, can I respond, I don't get the impression
Okay,
that that's a full listener.
okay.
Yeah, I'm also a counsel, so this is cross the body position.
You know what it is? Actually, that's a fat thing. It actually really bothers me, because this isn't comfortable, this is comfortable.
All right, I
And
got
it
it.
kills me because I've gained extra weight.
I-
So I try and not do that, because I know that's not a good look. But it really is, I'm being fully transparent, it's a fat thing, it's
I've
driving me
been
crazy.
fat for a while too, but that's
I'm not
not,
comfortable with it.
I understand that, and that was just an aside, it really
I know,
wasn't.
and I'm just
It
being
really
real
wasn't
with you, that's
just,
all.
um,
All right, so,
point. But my point
finish.
is, I think, as mayor, as representative, and I suggested on the tape, that you and Bill come, because I think there was conversation about how these new buildings and these new creations would make, we're all gonna be happy, where everybody's gonna have this, and here's a person that's saying, man, that was not my experience. I didn't go to find her, I didn't knock on doors and say, hey, come in, you got a problem, hey, I'm looking for you. She came here. And so that says to me, and she came here with another attorney. She didn't come here with like the newspaper guy. She came here with another attorney who's another professional. That just says a lot to me. If she had come here with the paper boy, that would have been fine too. And so I just feel like because she came, we can listen, and it's an opportunity for us to say, well, what can we do?
How come we didn't have another meeting?
Can I want to respond to
All right.
that. I thought you guys did an amazing job, and I'll say that through Andre Powell, because I know Andre reached out to the city attorney. I know Andre reached out to the state's attorney. I know Andre called her directly and shared all the information that he found on that to give her the guidance that's required. Beyond that, I don't know what more. So Andre, what more the HRC can do. So Andre brought this to my attention and educated me on it. So then I talked with 5, and I didn't know it was houses. So if there's 36 landlords out there that are renting out houses, and I'll be able to find that out from Bob Fidel, how many landlords rent houses.
Well, some of the 36, supposedly. I don't.
Oh, I thought you said it was all. Okay, so I went to the top 5 landlords that I work with, Dara, and just asked them, hey, educate me on what your process looks like. Tell me what that is. And almost to a man and woman, it was all electronic process, no names, blah, blah, blah. It's all based on credit score, yada, yada. So her accusation, which unfounded, but accusation, caused conversation with the state's attorney, conversation with city attorney, conversations with her, conversations with the mayor. Mayor engaged multiple landlords in the community to get a better understanding of how this process actually works. I would say a lot came out of that meeting. So and that's where, and then I'm here too. It's like, okay, so do we want to have an educational piece on our website on courses of action that someone can pursue if they think they were discriminating against the city council? Absolutely. If you guys really think that this is an issue and I need to make a public statement from the podium, I'm happy to do that. I mean, the concept of this is a community where everyone belongs is incredibly important to me. We have to make sure we're communicating. In fact, even the little things, like the mural we're putting on the back of City Hall is a mural that's being developed in the library right now. And the community has been coming out and cutting the pieces of glass and putting them all together. We're co-creating a mural together. The community is building this thing. This is important to me, absolutely. But beyond that, I don't know what more we can do. And again, being judge, jury, and executioner, I'm not on board with it in any way, shape, or form, especially when there's a legal course of action that person can pursue. And I would expect and assume she's already pursued it at this point, because 36 landlords, she needs to be pursuing that. And there's plenty of grounds, I'm sure, if that truly is the case, there's going to be substantial evidence towards it. So that's where I'm at, that's why I want to come and communicate, Andre.
Let me clarify for you, like I did when the police came. We have not suggested that we become judge, jury, and executioner.
Well, I just heard you used to be, so that was the
Well,
impression.
we
But we
had
have
a
to take
process.
complaints and investigate it.
We had a process
Okay.
in the past, but I don't know about judge, jury, and executioner.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
I do tend to exaggerate at times, and that was an exaggeration, I apologize. I know you did not. Yes.
You got some?
Thanks, Andre. I have a couple of observations. I agree with a lot of Lisa King's been saying. You know, it's not my responsibility to follow up, it's the responsibility of the city to inform me for the most part. And a good example is Bridge and Lucinda. My mom lives 3 houses away and I live 6 houses away from Bridge and Lucinda. Bridge was promised to be done by August 16th, and a week before, I think, NIU started installing fiber. So a week before March 1st, the chief engineer said, oh, no, there hasn't been any Markins infrastructure put in. Yeah, all the houses up and down the street were marked with paint. So anyway, they came and they put gravel, and then they left.
This is interesting.
And it hasn't been there for the whole time. So last council meeting, before council meeting, I sent, you know, and this is after I talked to Megan, the Chronicle report, I said, hey, you got a good story. These 52 bridges are way behind, and the city hasn't said anything about it. So that's why she published the article. So I followed up and I said, I would really like you guys that every meeting, and I don't understand why you haven't told us that it's been delayed. Okay? And they made some bullshit article about it, and it turned out to be, they said, oh, we told the utilities companies. And I said, you mean like Julie, I'm supposed to call them up and let me know where my wires are before I start digging?
Mr. Van Mayor, I don't want to cut you off.
No, but I just want to say, it's the same thing. I asked the council, they said it was, and my alderman, Scott McKenna, was not an issue. It wasn't his responsibility to inform the people that live around the bridges about the delays.
Understood.
So it's the same thing that
may be a
Lisa
conversation,
was saying
put
about-
on the agenda for another time, that may be a conversation, but keeping Lisa, Talia Williams.
Yeah, this is for the commission here, and I would be curious if the commission could ask the mayor if he bothered to watch the video testimony of Ms. Williams, because I got the impression from his comments that he did not watch it. He couldn't tell whether she was light-skinned or dark-skinned, you know. He said, I'm not sure if she's African-American. I find the fact that I get the impression that he did not watch her compelling testimony, and I think he should watch her compelling testimony. It is on the City of DeKalb website, and it was very compelling, so. I'd like to-
You know, I'll say, Mark, as an African-American man, I was pretty upset by what she came here and said, and I didn't take it lightly. But the more I think about it, you know, to counter what you were saying about them not giving her a letter saying why she was denied, in the same sense, I mean, you might not have had to say it, but she came here, I mean, that's a pretty tough accusation, and she never named one person.
Right.
She never named one person. And I mean, anytime you make an accusation like that, I mean, if you want someone to go after them or you want measures to be taken, you have to say who did it. You know, Mark, if Cohen does something, I'm gonna use you to, you're gonna say Cohen did it. You're not gonna say some guy did it, you're not gonna say the city, you're gonna say Cohen's name. I've seen you, you're gonna speak the name of who you're talking about. So I just feel like in order, you know, you're saying they didn't give her a letter, she didn't really give us any details.
Well, and I agree with you.
And I just feel like, call it what it is, call out who it is, bring it to the front light, but
I
you
can
can't chase a
understand.
ghost.
I can understand why
You
somebody.
cannot chase a ghost, and you know something? I had a conversation with a landlord, and he said, she didn't say my name, why are you referring it to me? And I felt like we all thought she was talking about this landlord. And he said, I can't discuss that with you if she did apply with me. That's not a conversation I can have with you. I can't talk about anything with any applicant with you at all. But I kind of jumped the gun because she really didn't say a person's name. So I'm not knocking her, I'm knocking myself, because I think we all had an impression when she said high-end apartments, who we thought she was talking about.
Well, I think I can understand why there might be a reason in a public forum why somebody would be reluctant to name this person or that person, not knowing the lay of the land or how things go and so forth and so on. But I trust you, and you followed up. And if you had that conversation and no name was brought to you, you know,
And I'm not discrediting.
and you know what you're
I
doing, you know, I mean, you've been, you know realtors, you know, you've done that kind of work, so I mean,
I just feel like this Joe Schmo, say his name. If you want someone to go out, if you want someone to take action, say their name.
yeah.
Can you report further on what, the mayor said you took various steps and talked to various.
Well, I talked to Matt Rose, and he pretty much just informed me that, you know, like, that's legal. And I was asking him if there's something we can implement with the landlords as far as discrimination. He advised me, like, that's federal. He was like, there's nothing we can implement that's not federally, state. He was like, all that supersedes the city code. He was like, the law was broken, the law was broken. And he was like, we can't write a law. They're already under the laws of discrimination. That's what I was advised by him. I spoke to the landlord. He told me his name wasn't mentioned. He said he heard about it, he watched the video, his name wasn't mentioned. If his name was mentioned, if someone wants him to come, he said, say his name. He said, say his name, he'll come here with his attorney. And if she signs the right paperwork, he can disclose anything if she was to reply to him. But he said he's not gonna defend himself against a random accusation.
This is not what we're gonna do. That needs to happen with attorneys in the court
Yeah,
system.
but he just told me that he can't do anything without her having an attorney, him having an attorney, he can't discuss it with.
Did you talk further with her?
Yeah, I talked further with her. And she just said she's just trying to bring light. I mean, I pretty much asked her, what's her end goal with this? What does she want? And she said that she would like to pursue it. So then that's when I called the state's attorney. And he said, well, is it a HUD issue? And then he said, I can send it over to him. He said, but that may be something to file with HUD if she has a discriminatory complaint with housing. I called Lisa, I talked to Lisa, I seen Joe, I talked to Joe one day. I called every number I could, I called Cohen, I told him, he said he would come down here and speak with everyone. I told him they wanted the city to step in. I didn't ask Bill, I just asked Cohen, would he come down?
She didn't say a name, and I would imagine that as an attorney, that's pretty wise, because you don't want to accuse somebody, and the landlord may not be the person that does that determines who's going to live in the building, right? So that, and she's an attorney, so I would imagine her to be like less than intelligent.
But, and that's why, like Andre just stated, this is a legal matter that is, the law's in place higher than the city to go. She can pursue it. She can name names that attorney-client privilege. There is a course of action. What I'm looking for is, do you all think we should have something on the HRC's website on discriminatory practices?
Can you do anything like what Joe, I really like what Joe said. You know, if somebody's gonna deny me something, I expect to
Yeah.
know. Can
So-
you say that, or
What-
like what, because I like that.
Well, yeah, first I have to find out, that may be policy already.
But how would she
She may have
deny?
been notified, and she may have been notified why, you know,
Or
or,
they had to deny her somehow. She didn't show us the denial, she didn't show us an email that denied her, so.
and if she's
She was
saying,
notified
I
somehow.
think she
that
said she
denied.
didn't get,
She said, they said, well, we don't know what it is.
and here, imagine 36 landlords
But
that
did
let
we
someone
read
know.
that? We see something that says.
No, we didn't.
Right.
That's what I'm saying.
So-
And I'm not, again, I'm not down here at all, that's not what I'm saying, but I'm just saying,
What I-
there's a lot of unknown.
What I can do, and I'm happy to do, Dara has regular meetings. I'll ask the chairman of Dara, can I come to the next meeting? And or maybe I just need to meet with them in their executive meeting on what, from a legal perspective, does a landlord have to? I don't know that. You know, I don't know if they have to provide why they deny someone. So I got to find that out. I don't have those answers. I can ask them that, hey, it seems like it would be a great idea if you did. I think, based on the conversations I've had, a majority of them do. They let someone know, here's exactly why I denied you. But I can find out more on that and encourage them, you should let people know, because, and your point is a good point. If someone's identity was hacked or whatever, that it could be nothing that they did, but if you do a credit report, you come back negative, and if they don't get a copy of that, and they would never know that, oh, I didn't realize this was on my credit, and that's why. So absolutely, I'm totally happy to do that, and I will do that. And I know this man here will hold me accountable to talking to landlords on that. Absolutely.
As far as not meeting, that's kind of my fault. I was kind of chasing between the state's attorney's office, map rolls, her, trying to get everyone to see, is everyone gonna come? Is one person gonna come? I called Lisa and asked her what she thought. I seen Joe, I asked you, how do you think? And I mean, I was just going in circles, and I didn't really have an
Do
answer.
you have my phone number?
No, I don't have a
I'd
phone
like
number.
to, like, speak
Yeah.
out because I'd like
But
to be
I
a
really
part
just
of
didn't have
that.
an answer, and I mean, like I said, I've reached out to her numerous times. She'll tell you, we've spoken.
I think it's, I think it's a good thing that we had that communication and that you came, because what I said to Dre, was I think it's important that at this meeting, that we address that. And not just, well, we talked to the attorneys, they said we can't do anything, so I think it's bigger than that. And although we have some public participation that, folk can certainly offer whatever commentary they'd like to offer. To my knowledge, they're citizens, and they have a right to speak, and I think they raise some points that we should pay attention to, and I bet they know who their people are. I bet they know who their representatives are. And I think we shouldn't ignore that. And I think whenever we can be available, and that we were here, because I think Bill said, the belongingness committee and people don't know us, so my question is, do people know where to go when they want to feel like they belong? And what are they doing to say, hey, we want everybody in DeKalb to know that you belong, because that's a piece
And
as well.
that is a grassroots initiative that is happening now, and that is probably one of the number one conversations on that. How do we get this concept out to a larger environment? Now, there's probably 30 people representing different organizations in different areas of our community that are active on it. There's a
Right.
nonprofit, NIU retirees, church community, all that. That's a active conversation, but it's the constant struggle on how do you promote and how do you get the word out.
Yeah, I
Every
see
organization
every
has
week at
that.
orientation. I just think if we're serious about working toward communicating better and effectively, I think that we can. I think that's not a huge hurdle.
Well, you should look at becoming part of the belonging council.
Okay?
I mean, this is what we're talking about regularly, trying to figure this out. And we're expanding, that's why we expand the membership, but it's just a challenge.
If I get an invitation, I'm open for it.
Do you know Angela Barron Jeffries at all?
I do.
Yeah, she's the chair of the belonging council.
Okay.
Yeah, holler at her and say, I was talking with the mayor.
No,
He
she
said-
should holler at me and say, hey,
Oh, okay.
why don't you come be a part of this? I heard the mayor said that
Okay.
you were interested in doing it.
I'll tell her, well, okay.
There we go.
I can sit here and say, I'll tell you, you gotta give me a second, then I gotta create a calendar event to remind myself to do that. I'm gonna leave this and I'm gonna get 3 phone calls on a variety of issues in our city.
Well, it's tough being the mayor. I'm
No,
not,
yeah.
I'm not saying that it's not. I don't think that, it's easy. Everybody, there was no, stampede of people
Lisa,
saying, I want to be the
I'm
mayor.
just telling you why I got on the phone.
No, I got you. I'm just saying, there was no stampede of people. Did you have to beat a bunch of people off to be the mayor? No, it's not a fun job.
No, just one.
Yeah.
I'm very reluctant to say this in a sense, because, I mean, being the mayor is at least in theory, a part-time job. And I know it's a full-time job. I know you put your time in and so forth. And I'm very reluctant to say, you should be doing this, you should be doing that, you should, because, part of me wants to part of me wants to play pickup sticks when we have conversations like this. If you're going to do this, and this, and this, then what is it that we can take away that you're, you only have so
Okay.
many hours in the day.
So how about?
So with that caveat,
Yeah, I know where you're going.
have you thought, no, have you thought about having some kind of a radio presence?
Being I'm on radio every month.
Yeah,
I am on the radio.
well, see, I don't know, when?
WLBK,
That's what I'm-
second
okay.
Fridays, 9:15, and TD, I don't get to tell. But I think it was TD, I don't know what everybody's gonna ask me when I go on. It's
Okay.
It's always current events. I don't know if there's a radio station that wants to have me on the radio every month for a period of time. Snickering here, but I don't think there's a radio station that wants to dedicate that kind of airtime. Like even Mason's show, he pays for it.
Oh, I know that.
Oh, yeah,
Right, right.
yeah.
They're not gonna want the mayor DeKalb on for a half hour to talk about whatever I
And
want.
then Jim Reason won't pay for that? You have him on the radio?
I have a question for the board.
Sorry,
For the
fourth Friday,
Okay, thank you.
9:15.
Thank you,
Every
I
month.
didn't
Yep,
know.
WLBK.
Mark Cordes contacted me it's probably before the beginning of May, asking, did we want her to come back? As you said, she's away this summer, but do we want to give her the opportunity to come back to the next meeting?
What's the objective? Based off everything we just talked about today.
I'd like to hear her perspective based on everything we talked about today. I think because it allows us to ask questions that we didn't ask, and it allows her to offer some clarity. And maybe she didn't offer it that night. And anybody can come to the HRC, right? Maybe we can have some belongingless people here. We can have some Dharma people here. I mean, we can have a whole situation.
Well, she
Yeah.
can come, but the question is, she wants to know if we want her to come.
I'm open to it, but I'm one of those open to most things people. Even when I don't always agree, I'm open to it because I think that's fair.
For me, I'm always balancing everything, and we have an issue, person brought forward, multiple actions have already taken place, city attorney time, state's attorney time, Scott Zach time, mayor time. We've leaned in on this and made a commitment on what I'm willing to do going forward, talking with Dara. And what I was going to say on your thing is, I'll actually have Andre. So I'll reach out to them, hey, can we have a conversation? So if he's a part of that and can help with that, just to make sure we're finding out more about their process and how does it work and see if there's any red flags there for based off this conversation. But beyond that, to have someone keep coming out on a topic that there is no further action that we can take. She needs to seek legal action. This happened. She needs to seek legal action because it's discriminatory practices. It's against the law. She can pursue it at that point.
When
We
she
have-
says thank you, and she just was glad that we listened to her and
It could be,
things
yeah.
and things. And she got to talk to Dre and learned a whole bunch of stuff that, just she knew.
Yep.
Are you saying you don't want her to come to the
No.
HRC?
I'm just saying, what is the objective of having her come out to talk to the HRC? If that's what you guys want, that's what you guys want. But I don't know what the objective is. If it's just to say thank you, she can easily write an email or talk to Dre, you can call her and talk to her on that.
She wants to see all of us.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you're a sweet woman, I know.
People
like you.
Thank
People
you.
like you.
I do. I'm sure I rubbed some people the wrong way. I think we talked last time about limiting, right? Dre, didn't we talk about limiting the time that people speak? So it wouldn't be that she would come and, defend her dissertation. And we don't know what she wants. Maybe could Dre find out what she wants?
Yeah, I'll reach out to her.
And to
We
create
probably
a,
go in circles all day
Yeah.
with this.
and to create a whole meeting to get conscious of everyone's time, city resource time on that. I love that idea. We're going to reach out to her, let her know this is the cause and effect. So this is what we're pursuing. Dre's going to work with the mayor and property managers to find out more about the process. If you guys want, and you want to put something on the HRC website about the course of action on discriminatory practices, absolutely. I'm totally on board for doing that as well. But we can let her know that this is the result of her coming before. But to do a whole meeting around her to come out to potentially say thank you, I bet Andre could cover that in a phone call and then share that with the commission. That's what I'm saying. So,
Mr. Van Buren, also want to say, I didn't mean to cut you off earlier. If there's ever something you want to discuss,
No, I just-
try to get it on the agenda, but just to stay on hand.
Yeah, no,
You know, even the bridge thing, just.
no, I was just pointing out.
No, I just want you to know, I don't want,
I wasn't-
I thought about you, anything you want to speak
No, it
about.
wasn't about the bridge.
Yeah, no, I know that's what she said,
Reaction
in the
from the
form.
city.
Yeah, I totally understand it, but
But
I don't want to be in a position to ever
No,
cut you
no,
off
I
from
didn't
your
take it, but
talk.
I was going to ask, I'm sort of curious. My high school English teacher was Beth Campton. And I remember when Beth Campton was organizing, I think it was called the Belonging Dinners, was it? Like the-
beloved. That
Well,
Another community.
Yeah, they were
Wasn't
great.
that
I used to
sort of
go to
the
those.
idea
They were
was to
awesome.
make it part of belonging, and so that, when I heard belonging, I was wondering, well, I haven't heard it, are the Beloved Dinners still going on, or?
They are not.
I don't know, no.
But this grew out of that.
No, I would say it would be an evolution of that. Maybe not, well, no, but a little bit different, you know what I mean? This whole concept and idea, it's actually because of Dr. John Powell, who's out of the University of Berkeley of California. It's his teachings on belonging that triggered it. We had Dr. John Powell come out, it was during COVID, so it was virtual, and give a whole presentation on belonging. Rockford is further along in this process than we are, but we're working closely with Rockford and Dr. John Powell's organization to continue to drive this idea of belonging. And the core of it is, how can we co-create a community together? And that like when I brought up the mural, that's what I'm saying, like from a city perspective, we are leaning in on this and figuring out how can we engage, how can we get people out, how can we build stuff together? And it may sound like, oh, it's just a mural, but it's not. I mean, it's on City Hall, it's something we all participate in, but it's building that community idea.
How about we
All
just put
of these.
belonging on the next agenda? I can reach out to,
Yeah, Angela.
like, yeah, I can reach out to Angela, we can get that on.
I would have a feeling she'd love to talk about it.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
I was just saying, but it sounds like the Beloved Dinner should start up again, because I never was.
Come to the next meeting, maybe that's something we can get going.
Yeah,
I think that's
I
the
never went to-
desired
I never
outcome.
went to one, but I knew Beth, like I said, a number of years, but and I had friends, Haji Sheik,
And we can all agree to just get belonging.
You know, when you talk about grassroots, you really need to get any grassroots in that, because you have a bunch of diverse people sitting at different tables talking about
I know.
concerns, and it was, so many of these things that have been done with the city when they go out and get solicit advice, that sort of structured in such a way that the message is driven by them, versus like in the dinner where it's a free-for-all, which is really what you want to hear.
Right.
My complaint about those is, I felt we were speaking to the choir. It's the same people who already.
I don't know. I mean, I went to some of those, and I would have considered myself a little bit of an outsider. But no, I know what you're saying, that it is, it's a group that everyone's already on board for this
Right.
topic. But it did, and I can't remember if it was Reverend Mitchell, or it was Beth, it might have been Beth, that encouraged me to come on. This is 5-6 years ago or something. It was educational. I was at a table with Steve Capitan, so it was, thank you. But it was good, and that's why I was saying, like, belonging isn't grown out of that, but it is an evolution of it. This concept of how can we get people together and talk and figure out how, you know, rather than we're trying to invite you to DeKalb, or we're trying to make DeKalb accommodate you, have a conversation about what is the DeKalb we all want.
I think the value of dinners like that, you know, going back, and I think honestly what happened was COVID happened.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I think that's
No, I
how,
totally agree.
that's how those, you know, sort of got suspended. But,
Move on.
but I think the good thing about gatherings of that sort, you know, are very simple things. You know, I know the name of this person at the grocery store, and I say, hey, how you doing? You know, and that's, if you want to get a sense of, you know, that people are living in this community together, then that's a good thing.
So I'll hook you up with Angela.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You give her.
I'm sure she would love to come.
So there is no item F, no new business tonight. Any announcements, Lisa? I know you said you wanted to, last time we spoke about some things the police department was doing and other people were doing.
Oh, the, Black organization. They're having some stuff,
Yeah,
some
that's what
events on
it is.
Tuesdays for young people. Building leaders,
Advocating change.
thank you, and I'm on that board, right, so I'm glad.
She's awesome.
I'm glad
I
to
love
fill in
to-
the blanks for that. So it really, it's a great opportunity for people to come out, and I think they're called, what, Tuesday Jams or something? The chief is connected.
They're done now.
They're
That
done.
I think just, is it? Oh, okay, never mind.
It's a
Tuesdays. I read most of the newsletter.
Hey, listen,
Tuesdays, Thursdays?
I can't remember which,
mostly
they
Tuesdays.
were doing Tuesdays and Thursdays.
I don't get it all right either, but what I know is the more that we expose each other to, the more opportunities we have to find out what's going on.
Yeah.
So it's not about, for me, it's not about perfection, it's about information. So that is one of the things that I know I wanted to mention.
Anything else?
Thank you.
Any other
Thank
announcements?
you
Hey,
for
Joe?
mentioning that.
JJ?
I'll move we adjourn.